That's actually very good. My understanding is like he's the one that's basically right. Take me out of the ball game. I haven't been to a baseball game in so long. I
So you're the 32nd one, you're the star. No, I want yellow. There you go.
Over there, it's really, really hard. So, we were meeting about last night, and she was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Oh, by the way, I was sometimes if everybody has it turned on, they'll turn off other people's
Oh, I know. Well, I walked up there. And I figured I should get with the WLP. Because I I don't know all Hey, I'll see you later. So the good news there's their friend. There's I went there. You can use the hotspot from your phone.
You get like a better answer. Not like
Or get one from the library. Yeah. Yeah, your hotspot. I literally, yes. But yeah, the hot is what? The hot. Sure, get smart. She got
everybody else like it would be
I will go Oh yeah. might be a lot of other things. But I know that's so I know better. I know better than that.
Now,
See from the front.
no matter how hard it is.
Hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Podby, co-president of the Junior Women's Club. Co-president of the Junior Women's Club of Verona, and welcome to the Council Candidate Forum. The Junior Women's Club of Verona is honored to host this event again this year to allow the public to better get to know the candidates running for town council. It's great to see such a wide turnout of members of the community that are looking to be informed and get to know the candidates. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I'll turn it over to Donna Ward, our League of Women Voters moderator. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sarah, and I'm very happy to be here tonight. Good evening on behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Montclair area. I'm from Montclair, right down the road, but we do that deliberately in the League of Women Voters because, as I'm sure you know, we're a nonpartisan organization and we never support or oppose political parties or candidates. So we're never allowed to moderate in our own hometowns. We always have to get somebody outside of our towns to moderate. But I'm happy to be here in Verona to help you. This forum will be recorded tonight. It will be available for viewing after the forum. We'll make it available on our league website, lwvmontclairarea.org. We encourage the sharing of the recording of this event in its entirety, but don't allow editing or making public any excerpts from the recording, so it has to be viewed in its entirety. And I ask you as the audience, I know you're very excited to see the candidates tonight, but to please hold off your applause until the end of the forum. And then candidates have agreed they're not going to use their cell phones during the forum, and I ask the audience not to do that. The questions for this forum were solicited by Junior Women's Club from the town of Verona, so everyone in town had the opportunities to submit questions, and I think, Sarah, there were quite a lot of questions, and we reviewed them, and we've selected 9 good questions, I think, that cover a range of topics. This is a timed forum, so the candidates know that they have a certain amount of time to answer the questions, and then I'll be interrupting if they're going over time, which I'm sure they won't. So with that, let's get going. We'll start with our opening statements, and we'll do it in alphabetical order. So I'd like to start with Cynthia Holland, please.
Thank you, and thank you to the Verona Juniors and the League of Women Voters. My name is Cynthia Holland. I'm your councilwoman, and I am seeking re-election. I stand for honesty, accountability, and community service. When I make promises, I really keep them, and that's a commitment that I gave to this community. And you can see how I've been making the promises that I made for my first term into real progress for Verona. I'm an attorney, and my practice area is energy, environmental, and utility law. I am the only person on the Township Council that has this expertise. And what that means is that I bring an understanding of critical infrastructure to our community. And that means your water, your wastewater, and your stormwater systems. These are incredibly important to maintaining your quality of life here in Verona. We must have clean water and a clean and healthy environment for our families. These are needs, not wants. I'm not afraid of debate and dissenting opinions as an attorney. It's not arrogance, it's accountability. And finally, I think it's incredibly important as a lifetime Girl Scout to stand here and be a woman on the Township Council and really inspire those future generations. I'm here so that girls can see that they too can lead. I am happy to serve the township and the community, and I urge you to vote 5F for Cynthia Holland.
Thank you. Liz Hines.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much to all of you for being here tonight and to the juniors and League of Women Voters for hosting us all. I'm Liz Hines. I am a fourth-generation native Veronan. I'm married to another Verona native, raising our daughter in my husband's grandparents' house. And like all of you, I care very deeply about the future of our town. But I've also spent 24 years working as a transportation planner, helping towns like ours plan smarter streets, safer neighborhoods, better public spaces. And it's a particular professional expertise that's not represented on the council right now, and that's not a knock on anyone currently serving, it's just facts. And it turns out that my expertise is very timely for us, and that is why I decided to run. Right now, Verona is facing a lot of big decisions about development, traffic, safety, affordable housing, where to put our emergency services building, and these are all planning issues, and they're deeply intertwined with one another. So I think we need thoughtful, transparent decision-making and leaders who listen to you. I want to bring my professional experience and my personal commitment to Verona to the council so we can make smart choices that work for everyone. Families, seniors, renters, old-timers like me, families who've just arrived and are hoping to give their kids the same experience I was so lucky to have growing up here. I believe in a Verona that's safe, walkable, inclusive, and true to its character. And I believe we can get there by prioritizing these issues and working together to tackle them. So thank you again. I'm excited for the conversation tonight.
Thank you. Jack McAvoy.
Good evening, and thank you to the Verona Juniors for hosting this event and the League of Women Voters for moderating. My name is Jack McAvoy, and I'm a lifelong resident of Verona, serving on the Town Council since 2017. Mayor from 2019 to 21, and currently deputy mayor. I have been self-employed my entire life, starting in the family construction business after college and eventually transitioning into home inspections. In the home inspection business, I hear many people say they would love to live in Verona. They talk about the quaint downtown, beautiful town center, and small town charm. I ran for town council in 2017 to keep Verona desirable in that way. I became involved, started attending town council meetings in 2012 because that small town charm was being threatened. Developers shoot for the stars, trying to increase the density of projects beyond what a property and Verona can handle. I will continue to serve Verona residents and try and stop overdevelopment, approve appropriate development, and ensure environmental rules and regs are applied. Appropriate development brings ratables to the township. However, overdevelopment has the opposite effect, putting a strain on our schools, infrastructure we have been upgrading, emergency services organizations, and environment and traffic. I've worked very hard to keep Verona a desirable location to raise a family and will continue if reelected.
Thank you. Paul Petrangeli.
Thank you for everyone for coming, and thank you for hosting. Paul Petrangeli. For those of you that don't know me, I usually am wearing a green shirt at the meetings. That's why you don't recognize me, or a hat. Basically, I'm running for town council because I don't like the way Verona is, where I see it going. A little bit about me. I'm a land surveyor for about 20 years. I work with all types of infrastructure, from sanitary sewer to water. I work on high-rise buildings. I work on small development. And that's why I'm running, because I have the expertise from working day to day in the field with all of this infrastructure and everything that's going on in this town. I've started going to meetings around 3 to 4 years ago and speak up regularly on multiple issues. I'm a dad in Verona, and I feel like basically our citizens and our residents are not getting through. We're not having a voice. So I'm here so our voice can be heard. I'm always here to help our residents. I'm always here to help our neighbors. And that's the reason I'm doing it, is for Verona. There's only two reasons, and that's my kids and Verona. And I want to see us do better, and I believe we can. And please vote 1F for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Tamburo.
Good evening. Thank you to the Verona Junior Women's Club for hosting the next forum, the League of Women Voters for moderating, all of the candidates for participating, and the public for posing questions. I am Chris Tamburo. It has been a pleasure to serve the Verona community for nearly 18 years. First as a teacher and advisor, then as a Verona Rescue Squad EMT, a nonprofit board member, emergency manager, and most recently as a member of the Township Council for the last 4 years. For the last decade, I've worked as a consultant specializing in labor issues, contract negotiations, economic and budget analysis, public policy, and alternate dispute resolution. All of these experiences have strengthened my ability to solve problems and to develop thoughtful solutions to the many significant challenges facing Verona. The next 4 years will be critical as we determine how property will be developed, preserve open space, support local businesses in our downtown, plan municipal spending and cost savings, ensure the sustainability of our pool and recreation facilities, continue to address aging infrastructure, increase public engagement, and maintain our quality of life. To meaningfully address these community needs, local government requires leaders who put service above politics and always work in the best interests of the town. I appreciate your attention this evening. I look forward to sharing my vision for our community and how we can have the best government for the best Verona.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for those opening statements. So let's move on to the questions. The first question: I'd love to rely more on walking to get around town, but the current pedestrian infrastructure doesn't always feel safe or family friendly. What specific plans do you have to improve pedestrian safety along Bloomfield Avenue and throughout our town? And let's start with Liz Hines.
All right, thanks for that great question. The things that I would prioritize from a town council perspective would be first to pass a complete streets policy, which would ensure that traffic safety is incorporated into every decision that we make. It's also a prerequisite for many of the grant and technical assistance programs that we could then rely on in order to get help to make those kinds of improvements that the question refers to. I think we're not taking nearly enough advantage of those kinds of programs. I'd also want to work much more proactively with the county on the planning side than we're doing now, because the biggest transportation safety issue is Bloomfield Avenue, which is a county road. I think it would be one of my first priorities to make Dave Antonio, who is the Essex County Transportation Planner, my BFF. I want to be in front of his face and letting him know how important this is to Verona. I don't want to see us left out of some of the county initiatives that are going on right now. I've been participating in the county's Safe Streets for All action plan meetings as a representative from Verona's Neighborhood Traffic and Safety Committee, and we've been left out of the priority corridors that they have identified for future action because of an ambiguous future project that they're talking about. We need to make sure that we are involved in that project.
Thank you. Jack.
Yes, I would definitely agree with Liz that we need to discuss with the county more. When we talk about the streets in Verona, we're talking Bloomfield Avenue, Lakeside, Grove, Fairview, they're all county roads. So a lot of times that's where our difficulty comes when trying to do things in Verona. I will say I commend the county. They repaved Bloomfield Avenue, they repaved Grove Avenue. I think that alone and the striping makes those roads safer roads. And they have been keeping up with Bloomfield Avenue for the town of Verona. So I commend them in that aspect. Moving forward, we have been pressing the county for crosswalk near Verona Park. That's been a big one, and I'm hoping that comes to fruition in the next couple of years. We will be doing, the county will be doing traffic lights through Bloomfield, up down Bloomfield Avenue. We're the next phase of that. That will make the streets safer. We're always analyzing roads and looking at what traffic areas we can evaluate. I know a couple of years ago, we added four-way stop signs on Claremont Avenue in 2 spots, and people were complaining. So I asked them, what are you complaining about? Well, it slows us down. Well, that's the purpose of it. So we're always looking at neighborhoods and always trying to add it. And I responded back to the person, if we have to put a stop sign on every corner to slow traffic down, we will do that. The other worry of mine now is the e-bikes. People really go crazy with the e-bikes. I think that's something we have to address.
Thank you. Paul?
So basically, the reason I'm running is because I'm a guy that likes to think outside of the box. And to me, I'm not a politician. I like to go different ways. To me, our streets could be a lot safer. I've talked to the county about the stop signs that Montclair has. Why aren't we have the push buttons that light up Everett Field? We're putting a beautiful complex in at Everett Field, but to cross Bloomfield Avenue at that intersection is impossible. So the people from Brookdale to get to Everett, it's like you're playing Frogger. So to me, the crosswalk signals would help, stop signs all throughout Claremont, Linden, things like that. We just have to use basically common sense on how we're going to address the future projects. The striping works, the whole entire issue with Linden Avenue and the bridge and stuff like that. There's so many things we could do to slow down traffic. We just need to implement them and do them. Stop signs to me are huge, but yeah, to me, I think we need crosswalks as much as we can get. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Thank you. First off, back in 2020, 2021, I walked every street in this town with my dog Radar, every single one. We had a great time, and we continue. You probably see me walking in your neighborhood. We walk 3 miles a day, an afternoon at least. So I have walked every street. I've tripped on every uneven sidewalk. I've used every crosswalk, and have been able to create a very good catalog of issues that have existed. During my time on the council, I've advocated with our public works and with our township administration to engage in some repairs and do upgrades to our facilities. During the last 4 years, we have rebuilt a lot of our streets. And during that time, we improved pedestrian safety, created streets and sidewalks that were much more walkable. We can expand this. We have worked with the county. Our administration actually meets relatively regularly with the county DPW to engage in some of this brainstorming and to get additional resources. We are putting a traffic light in at Fairview and Personette. But part of the issue is enforcement. And one thing that I've committed to is ensuring that our police department has the tools, technology, and the personnel to make sure that we can actually enforce the traffic laws and pedestrian safety. They're doing that with traffic studies, counting cars, but also enforcement of areas like crosswalks. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Thank you for this question. Walkability is a topic that has been discussed by the Township Council for at least the last 4 years. It is accurate to say that in the last 4 years, we have absolutely upgraded our streets to make them more ADA compliant. But that's not to say that we've finished the job. There is absolutely more to do. I believe in taking a planful and strategic approach to any issue. And I also believe in leveraging our community talent. I think it's been a wonderful addition to have the new traffic light and crosswalk at Claremont and Pompton. We are also, as a resident of the Forest Avenue section, we are also working to have a new light and crosswalk at Pease and Lakeside. These are tremendous improvements to traffic and safety. But I think it's also important for us to leverage the community resources that we have to complete the Complete Streets process, to hear from our community volunteers like the Traffic and Safety Committee, and perhaps even leverage community expertise by electing somebody like Liz Hines to contribute to the discussion as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. Serving on town council means balancing many perspectives. How will you make sure your decisions reflect the needs and voices of the entire community, not just a particular group or interest? And we'll start with Jack.
Thank you. I think for the last 8+ years I've been on the council, I've interacted with pretty much everybody, a lot of people in town. I grew up in town, so I know a lot of people, and I'm always open to feedback. I always tell people, if you want to talk to me, I get calls, hey, can I give your number to somebody? I'm like, my number, you Google my name, you can get my cell number. I prefer a face-to-face conversation with someone, and or a phone call with somebody. I do think conversation and talking to residents through text messages or emails sometimes get misinterpreted. So I reach those people. If they want to reach me, I'm very accessible, but I reach those people. I like to do it one-on-one. This way it's more personal, but I always want to be there to talk to people and hear their ideas. And a lot of times the ideas that the council brings forward are always ideas of the residents. And I put it on my mailer that I will be sending out, that we should tap into those residents. There's a large knowledge base of residents out there that want to help out. They're always saying they want to help out, and we need to tap into that to get more ideas and better results of what we do.
Thank you. Paul?
Basically, nobody controls my mouth but me. That's just how it's going to be. I talk to residents all the time. I am in my backyard. I am in their backyards. Hang out late night, just hang out in the backyard drinking beers, and we talk about so much stuff. I have met with community members over the past 2 years, and I'm not even on the council, and I've never even thought I would be up here. But the issue is we need a mouthpiece, and I feel like I have been that mouthpiece. People have reached out to me just because they've seen me speaking at meetings and things like that. I've been meeting with residents nonstop for the past 2 years, just so I could come to these guys and tell them issues that we're having. My views are not going to be basically affected by anyone except for the residents of this town. I listen to them, I'm running for them, I'm here to help them, and that is it. It's, like I said, nobody controls this mouth. There's no favors, no nothing. It's basically, it's the view of the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Thank you. One of the things I think our Township Council does well is actively solicit feedback from residents. And this comes in many forms. It could come in emails, it can come in phone calls. My cell phone number is available to every resident. It is published on my website. You're welcome to call me on any topic. One of the things that I also like to do is go to residents. If I know a resident has a particular expertise in an area, I'll go and ask them a question. Or I'll post a policy statement with ideas about something. Most recently, it was the Verona Community Pool, with ideas for plans and solutions, and receive resident feedback. Just from that conversation, I had multiple phone calls with a lot of engaged residents, got great ideas like forming a committee of residents to market the pool, and actually got volunteers from that process. So we're able to do that. I like to flesh out ideas on phone calls and in person, so you can have the interaction back and forth. It's just as important that we ask residents questions as they ask us, so we can have those very productive conversations. In the end, though, we have to be able as a Township Council to gather a lot of data from a lot of different groups and stakeholders, and then make a decision in the best interests of the most of the community. Now, we can't always make not everybody's opinion may 100% be represented, because that's why we have representative democracy, which provides the council the opportunity to get this feedback and then act in the best interest of a majority of the residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia?
Thank you. We are a representative form of government, and each of us on the Township Council is a council member at large. That means we're not representing specific sections of town or wards. We represent the entire community. And in representing the entire community, that means we need to hear all of the diverse opinions of all of our community members. And we need to ensure that our actions are representative of that diverse body of the public body. And so I think it's important to recognize that job number one of anybody in such a position of public service needs to be responsive to those residents. We need to leverage the community volunteers that we have, whether they be civic organizations or the various boards and committees that we have, where so many residents dedicate their time and make recommendations to the community. We need to consider those things. We need to consider the community feedback that we receive on various policies, whether that's in email or phone calls or in survey results. These are incredibly important factors that need to inform our decision making, and we should be held accountable. So if the voters feel that we aren't being responsive to their needs, then the way to address that is through your ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz?
So I wanted to answer the first part of that question that really dealt with dealing with diverse perspectives that you hear from the community. I've spent my whole career working on big multidisciplinary teams to solve large, thorny problems with stakeholders who have competing interests and priorities. A lot of that involves going to public meetings, talking to residents one-on-one, answering their questions. But the second part of that is listening to their answers and then incorporating that feedback into whatever project I'm working on. So I think it's important for what I do professionally. It is super important for what I would be doing here. I do want to make it easy for people to contact me. So in addition to the opportunity to speak one-on-one, I'd like to do something that I call kind of my office hours, where a bunch of times a year I will set up someplace and it's sort of an open forum when people can come and just, chat one-on-one or chat in a group about what's going on in town, and I will listen to them and I can share the things that, I know about what's going on to help answer their questions.
Thank you. Next question. Out of concern about conflicts of interest, Milburn Township recently passed an ordinance that prohibits political party chairs from chairing a municipal board or committee. Would you be in favor of passing a similar ordinance in Verona? Would you be in favor of extending this to the town council as well? Why or why not? And we'll start with Paul.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of it. I don't think it's a small town. It should be a nonpartisan election. Should keep politics out of it. The views that we have federally do not affect if we're going to build a building, how the sewer gets to your house, how the water gets to your house. So I would pass that ordinance. Thank you.
Chris?
I think that's a great question. In a letter to the editor today on My Verona NJ, a resident referred to me as an independent, and I've always felt that has been one of my best qualities serving on the Township Council, being able to speak to people of various different ideologies and to incorporate everybody's feedback regardless of political party affiliation or any kind of ideological affiliation. I think there is some value in avoiding that conflict of interest, but I think that instead of the township passing an ordinance, that needs to be self-regulated, where our elected officials should not be party chairs, and our committee chairs should self-regulate and pull themselves away from any party activity. I don't think it's fair for the Township Council, though, even though I'm not a member of a political party, to pass an ordinance that may be unconstitutional as a violation of the First Amendment, freedom of association and freedom of speech, to say that you can't, if you want to serve here, be a member of another organization like a political party. But I also think that the individuals that our community elects and the individuals that are appointed by the Township Council should self-regulate and realize that their priority in these positions should be the best interest of the community and not of a political party. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Thank you also for this question. I can't speak to the legality of Milburn's ordinance, nor can I speak to the particular circumstances that led to the passage of this ordinance in Milburn. What I can say is that the specific facts in Verona are not the same. We do not have any partisan chairs that I'm aware of leading any boards or committees in the town of Verona. So I really think it's not an issue. So if I take a step back and look at that question more broadly, what we're really asking about is conflicts of interest. And that's of particular concern for me because I believe that government should comport itself with square corners. Really, we should be dotting I's and crossing T's and making sure that the individuals that represent us don't have divided loyalties, don't have conflicts of office, aren't voting on matters that could have a personal or financial benefit to them. Overall, there are several laws in the state of New Jersey that are meant to govern these things, but as has been stated previously, there's also a lot of self-policing that needs to be done. And so if residents are concerned about conflicts of interest, I do urge you to really scrutinize your representatives and vote for the people that share your ideals of honesty and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz?
I think I would pass that ordinance. I think that Verona government should be about Verona. We're lucky we live in a small town where we mostly agree on the issues that affect us here in Verona, and I don't see a reason to bring partisan politics into that. I love that we are a nonpartisan governing body, that this is a nonpartisan election, and I'd want to keep it that way.
Thank you. Paul?
I'm sorry, Jack.
It's already.
Go again. I think I would pass that ordinance. Verona has always, not always, we are a nonpartisan town. And that was one of the major arguments when we moved the election from May to November, was that it would become a partisan election. I do think when you get into the conflict of interest part of it, that should be self in what the person thinks. They have to analyze what they're doing. It falls on that candidate or on that representative. As far as Milburn, I don't know what their form of government is, whether they're partisan or nonpartisan. But I think anyone in office, listen, we know you can't keep the partisanism out of your decisions all the time. They are going to weigh in on some of your decisions. However, if it's blatant, I think, again, that's up to the person in office to police themselves and really dig down and make their decision themselves.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Where do you stand on the emergency services building as the current proposal stands? With the rescue squad out of scope of the current proposal, how would you ensure the rescue squad has a secure future in Verona? And we'll start with Chris.
Well, speaking of conflicts of interest, I am a member of the Verona Rescue Squad, as I said in my opening, for the past 16 years. So I cannot answer or have an opinion in a public forum on the rescue squad. But I can address the emergency services building because right now that only includes police and fire. So as it stands right now, we have been provided a concept plan for that building. This is what the department heads and the township management have proposed to the council. We've spent a good portion of the summer analyzing this. We had a nearly 5-hour meeting in which council members got to ask questions on this exact topic. And we also met with, I did at least, department heads, our township manager, police chief, to ask additional questions on that. One of the things that became very apparent in the presentation in August was that a large part of the cost of the emergency services building, which is currently slated to go onto Pompton Avenue, is in site work. Meaning because there's a slope there, there's a big hill, there's some wetland areas, there are some complications. So a question I asked the township manager is to work with our architect to find, to get plans to see if we could actually save money by splitting the building, by putting the police department on Lakeside Avenue, which would be more central to the town, enhance our safety, and build a building on Lakeside Avenue that would fit into the character of the neighborhood. And we'll be able to, so I can't, to close my thought, offer an exact opinion right now because we've asked all these other questions.
Thank you. Cynthia.
Thank you for this question. I struggle to have a firm position on the public safety building as proposed, which did initially include the rescue squad, because I continue to have very material questions outstanding. I have asked several questions going back to June of this year, and I still have not received a response. To dig into it a little bit more, the proposal was initially to consolidate the 3 emergency services onto a single parcel. We purchased that parcel with the expectation that all 3 of those services would be there. That would be fire, rescue, and police. It was represented to us at the time that that was the best property available for that kind of combined building. At a point, the rescue squad determined that they would no longer engage in this process, and they sought to pursue their own approach to addressing their building needs. I remain committed to supporting our emergency services and making sure that they have the appropriate facilities. But I think that in order to do that and truly represent my constituents, I really need answers to the questions that I have asked. What are we doing with our existing facilities? Whether this is the appropriate process? Are we leveraging the correct firm? Are we even looking at the right parcel? All of these are outstanding questions that haven't been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz?
So I would have approached this whole thing entirely differently. First, given the size and the uniqueness of the building that we were looking at, it would have done a competitive bid process like we did for the streetscape project that's underway to find a firm that's really strong in these particular types of facilities, as opposed to just going to our on-call architect. I would have first identified the minimum requirements we needed to make it compliant and functional and work for the departments. Then I would have talked to the departments and said, hey, like if you could build your dream facility, what would you include in it? And then I'd look at what is the budget that we have for it. And I would have asked the architect to design something that gets us all of our must-haves and as many as of the nice-to-haves as we can get in there. I also would have asked the architect to develop multiple alternatives so that the discussion between the council and the community would become about weighing the pros and cons about each alternative. It's a much better way to sort of build consensus and make decisions than what we're doing right now.
Thank you. Jack?
The Verona Rescue Squad, not one of the largest volunteer and oldest volunteer rescue squad in the state of New Jersey. While other rescue squads over the last 3, 4, 5 years have been going under, Verona has been very strong. They have definitely the largest volunteer group in Verona. They need a new facility. Our police department and firehouse number 2, they need new facilities. That is why we spend hours and hours in meetings talking about it. I myself, like every other council member that's sitting, have questions unanswered. It's still a work in progress. When we talk about location, I think I was the first one that brought up, we did an extensive search of properties around Verona. We approached the Archdiocese of Newark trying to buy Lakeside Avenue before, and they turned us down. We then went to other places. Route 23, Pompton Avenue came up. After we created the building, designed the building, the Archdiocese came back and offered it again. So we purchased it. At that point, my idea, put the police department there. Bifurcate the two, put the police department there. Firehouse on Pompton Avenue. There's a level piece of property there. There's $1 million grant that we got for the Lakeside Avenue property. That will be offset by the sale of the second parcel, 3 acres on Pompton Avenue. I can guarantee it's probably $850,000, $900,000. So we will balance that out and probably save money on excavation because of the topography of the Pompton Avenue property.
Thank you. Paul?
So I agree with Jack. I agree with Liz. My issue is basically the emergency service building. I actually took a tour of it on Friday and talked to a lot of our volunteers. That building is in need. So basically not having them incorporated in the plan is basically like not fiscally smart. So basically we're going to build this new building for the police and fire, and then in 5 years, what are we going to do? Build something for the emergency service building? Just like Jack said, they're going to be 100 years old in 2027. It's the largest emergency squad we have. Basically, I agree that Pompton does not work. I think you should put the fire and rescue on Pompton, put the police on Lakeside. The building is not set up for fire and police. I'm sorry, it's just not. You have a driveway that's like 45 feet wide. You're not going to fit all emergency vehicles coming out of there. You have a 90-degree turn for a fire truck. I work on concept plans for this for a living. I do traffic studies for a living. I have all of this stuff. I believe we need to support our police, our fire, and our emergency rescue squad, but we need to do it with a budget, and we need to give them what they need to satisfy our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Verona has grown in the past decade and is anticipated to grow further over the next 10 years. What kinds of new development would you be comfortable with in Verona? In which geographic areas would you allow these units to be constructed? And we'll start with Cynthia.
Thank you so much for this question. I think this gets to the heart of one of the key issues that is of concern to our residents, which is affordable housing. Certainly, most of the development that we have seen in our community has been housing developments over the last, 5 to 7 years. And we are going to continue to see that. There is a need and there is a legislative and court mandate that municipalities provide for the reasonable opportunity for the development of affordable housing. And there absolutely is a need in this and other communities for affordable housing. But that needs to be planned smart. It needs to be planned strategically and thoughtfully. There is an obligation on our planning board to adopt an affordable housing plan, and that was done recently. My council colleagues also brought it forward to have it endorsed by the town council. I did not vote in favor of endorsing that affordable housing plan because I did not believe that it was meeting those standards that I just set forth. I don't believe it was strategic. I don't believe it was appropriate for Verona. However, if I am going to look forward, I would love to see us develop more ratables for our community. So not just addressing and reacting to the affordable housing mandates, but I would love to see us developing more businesses in our communities so that we have those increased ratables. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz.
Well, what I don't want to see is high-rise development, but because of the affordable housing mandate that Councilwoman Holland spoke about, development that is of a higher density than what we're used to is going to be coming to Verona. And so I think it's up to the planning board, the town council, and the town administration to really work together to make sure that what comes works for us and is the right mix of residential and commercial. We kind of need to work to create the conditions that foster the kind of mixed-use development that adds that density in the housing units to downtown, which is where I think it should be mostly, in a way that fits the character of Verona. Again, we need to control that, not the developers, and we do that through just thoughtful, strategic planning decisions. I mentioned downtown because putting the bulk of new development in a downtown is planning best practice. And I think it actually will help to create a vibrant place with a mix of uses for both residents now and visitors.
Thank you. Jack.
Yes, areas for development should be along the main corridor, and I believe that that is where it's fitting. The affordable housing plan that the council adopted or portions of the council approved had 3 of the 4 properties along Bloomfield Avenue, and that is where appropriate growth should happen, appropriate development. We don't want overdevelopment, we want appropriate development. The affordable housing plan that we did adopt was a council decision. It's not a planning board decision. It goes to the planning board for review, for consistency with our master plan. Then it goes back to the council for adoption. And we adopted that plan on June 23rd. Had we not adopted that plan, we wouldn't be compliant with the state because we had to put it in by June 30th. If that did not happen, the 4 properties that were there and several others maybe would become interveners. And if they became interveners, then they would be able to build whatever they want on the property. West Orange did not adopt their plan, and I'll quickly tell you, Mayfair Farms, 10 acres, have 140 single-family homes. That developer on June 8th or June 9th came in with, as an intervener, and they are now putting in for 496 units on that property. And that's what could happen on the properties in Verona had we not adopted that plan.
Thank you. Paul?
Yes, that is very true. I'm not for development at all. I want to keep it down as much as possible. I'm for upgrading, maybe the storefronts, things like that. Maybe take some of the buildings like the one that's for sale and maybe put a second floor on it for the affordable housing, stuff like that. There's some developments, yes, you're not going to be able to stop. And that's where smart development comes in, like the Spectrum 360 building. They're going to put a giant building in. They need to replace our sewer systems. They need to do something for us. The developers right now I work for, we're in Wanacue. We're taking a property from 14 townhomes that have been abandoned, and we're putting 82 units on it in a mountainside in Wanacue. I watch this happen everywhere in every town because, unfortunately, I do this for a living. I believe the affordable housing needs to change. I think people are fighting it. I think it depends on our government or our governor's election. And I believe that the formula needs to change because the formula is not based on sustainability or our schools or anything else. Basically, smart development. It needs to be on the main corridor, and that's it. We keep our neighborhoods to neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Thank you. This is the issue that I identified as one of the most significant facing Verona. We're making a lot of decisions in the next 4 years that will affect the next 40 years. I have been advocating for smart development, and I appreciate some of my colleagues up here also using that term. One of the things we have to look at, no matter what we develop, the two biggest issues we face, impact on the school system and parking, right? So we cannot overdevelop. We need to focus our development on the Bloomfield Avenue corridor and the Pompton corridor, which we can rehabilitate. We should not be expanding multifamily housing in addition in existing single-family zones. We should not be adding accessory dwelling units because they cause things like flooding, additional parking, higher population in our schools and in the community. I think the council did a very good job addressing our affordable housing needs. We did not have to build an affordable-only building like was done in the last round. The plan was very responsible. And the plan that was adopted by the Township Council, which was unanimously recommended by the Planning Board, was based on actual developers who had indicated a desire to develop property, rather than some towns or some ideas that came across the council that were included adding into that plan land that wasn't slated at all for development, and the developers hadn't even approached us, which is disingenuous and would have led to lawsuits and challenges on that. Most of all, our development needs to meet community needs. Thank you.
Next question. While Verona has many thriving local businesses, there are many empty storefronts in prime locations on Bloomfield Avenue. What is your strategy for supporting existing small businesses and attracting new, diverse enterprises to our town? Liz?
I think I have a pretty similar answer to this one as my last one, actually. I think that as new development comes to downtown, it generates that kind of vibrant mixed-use development that that both doesn't compete with, but instead complements and supports what is already there. This is going to be a super nerdy planning question, but there's this principle called Hotelling's Law. Did you ever wonder when you come off a highway, you don't see one fast food restaurant, you see 3 on all the corners? It's because having them co-located together actually supports their business, and they do better than if there were just one there. So I think the same thing kind of tends to happen in downtowns, where once you get to that critical mass of other similar businesses, it becomes more of a destination and a vibrant place that people want to walk around and spend time in.
Thank you. Jack?
I think a large part of what goes on downtown has to do with the property owners. They buy a piece of property, and if they don't have a plan for that property, then it just sits vacant. I know several that are sitting in the center of town right now that are vacant, and we're talking about some people with a lot of money, so it's not really top on their priority. But as for like the smaller storefronts, I myself, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. When I got on the council in 2017, the chamber was non-existent, and I worked very hard and talked to different people and got the chamber up and running again. So we were going full steam ahead until COVID, had 70, 80 members, and then that really shut us down, but we're back in it and we're going strong now. So we've been reaching out to businesses. There's a couple very, very hardworking people on the chamber that get involved. They send out welcome bags to all new members, and all new residents in town. So those are ways to help businesses. And I think once the other building owners see these businesses thriving, I think they will make a push and maybe invest more in those buildings and hopefully get good tenants in to fill those vacant spaces.
Paul?
Those vacant spaces, I believe a lot of them are just businesses that didn't work out. We have a lot of gyms, we have a lot of barber shops, a lot of nail salons, restaurants, things like that. I believe we need in the storefronts. Basically, it's hard for a family to go out and spend money all the time. That's why I believe it's empty. It's hard for a family of four. When I go out to dinner, I'm spending $100-something for 2 adults and 2 kids. So we need to do more as a community to help these businesses. We could advertise more things like the fundraising when there's family nights and things like that. I know Lakeside has the dinner all the time they put out there. So basically, it's up to our community to help these businesses and keep them in there. The businesses, they do fill up, but then they go away. So it's our job as a community to keep them in this community. And the only way we can do that is by saving money. And if we have money, then we go out to eat. Then we go out and we spend money. We buy toys, we buy things. I think we should also open things up. Like, look at our ordinances. When I first moved in here, I said, hey, I could put an arcade in right down the street from the high school, or right down the street from the elementary school. We have an ordinance that says no arcades. So to me, I think we should just look at things and look at the businesses and basically figure out ways for our residents to save money so we can keep those businesses going. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Thank you. I agree with Liz Hines on the prospect of mixed-use property, bringing in some new stores. What a great example of this is the proposed development at the corner of Bloomfield Avenue and Park Avenue, Hillcrest House, which I think is absolutely smart development. It's by a developer who very much cares about this town. And that proposal includes office space for an existing store and also bringing in a restaurant, which they have a commitment for. But in addition to that, we have to look at filling the currently unoccupied storefronts. One of the things that I hear from business owners a lot is the lack of parking. And the council has looked to address this through moving some permit parking to Lakeside Avenue. Of course, if emergency services building goes there, we won't be able to do that. But one of the ideas I brought up and have been asking the township administration to work on is indemnifying property owners like banks, so we can insure their properties and use them for parking after hours, which the business community has responded very well to. In addition, we have the streetscape project that will make the town more walkable in the center. One of the other things that we must do as council members is be ambassadors. So I've been talking to business owners of similar businesses like pharmacies to replace a potentially leaving Walgreens. And finally, we can offer tax abatements on improvements to existing buildings rather than building new ones. So the owner would only not pay tax on improvement and could improve the properties to meet business needs.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Thank you for this question. And I have to say, I think this is another one of those persistent questions that I believe I may have even been asked 4 years ago. So if I look back at my response to the questions about development, I have to just reiterate in response to this question as well, that I believe that we should take a strategic and planful approach. And that just simply hasn't been the case in Verona over the past 4 years and maybe prior decades as well. When I came on the council, that was the same situation for our critical infrastructure systems. And so I took a leadership role in making sure that we had asset management plans, which are really the strategic plans for how you deal with your utility systems. We have a master plan that addresses development and zoning, and these are things that are going to help the business community to thrive. But unfortunately, a lot of the recommendations contained therein have really just not moved forward. They haven't been executed on. So I really think that there's an opportunity for the council to move forward with those recommendations. Again, recommendations from the community and the community volunteers that sit on the planning board. I also think a key issue for downtown, one that was brought up even 4 years ago, is parking. And that is why the township has identified the Lakeside Avenue property as a great opportunity for parking. And so just this past weekend, I attended the Miracle Walk and I saw the traffic impacts on our neighborhoods there. I think we have an opportunity to fix that for our businesses and our residential community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Many residents remember when Verona voters had the ability to elect their own mayor rather than having the council select one internally. Would you support restoring that process to give residents a direct voice? And we'll start with Jack.
If that's what the residents of Verona want and change I think that would require a change of our government to have an elected mayor. I would 100% put it up as a question and let the residents of Verona decide that.
Okay. Paul.
Simple as that.
Yes, I believe our residents should choose everything. I liked, a few years ago, we had like Planet Civic on the phone where we could comment and everybody got to see. Like, the residents should be able to speak up about everything. We should be able to vote on everything, basically. It's why we elect, it's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris.
Well, this is a complex question. So I am the sitting mayor, and one of the least understood things about how our government operates under the Faulkner Act is we have a council manager form of government, which means we have what's called a weak mayor. Our mayor has almost no executive authority. That is up to our township manager. And the mayor leads meetings, ceremonies, has some input on agenda items from the township manager, and makes some appointments to certain committees. That's really what our mayor does, and signs paperwork and things like that. So right now, with our current form of government, could we have an elected mayor? Absolutely. However, one of the beauties of our government as it exists is that the mayor is an equal vote and an equal voice to every council member. There's no one person over another. And that's really important to understand, that I'm just one of 5 members of a governing body and a board of trustees. So if you had an elected mayor, sometimes you would only have residents going to that person when they really wouldn't have the authority to act without the other 4 members. So this could create some problems. So I think going to the voters on this is certainly a good idea. However, that would have to be preceded by some very significant educational programs on what the job of our mayor actually is and what our frame of government under the Faulkner Act actually allows, so people could better understand what that decision is going to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Cynthia.
Thank you again for this question. Certainly, the community could change its form of government and ultimately have an elected mayor. That is not the case currently. The way the mayor is selected currently is through a vote of the 5 elected members of the council. So if an individual has 3 of 5 votes, they can ultimately become the mayor. Whether they were the top vote getter, meaning that they had the greatest support of the community or not, they can ultimately come to a majority and coalition build with just 3 out of 5 members and ultimately obtain that seat as mayor. In the last mayor selection, I was interviewed for an article, and I indicated, and it remains true to this day, that I was not consulted in any of the considerations for the selection of mayor. I think that's ultimately a miss. So whether we change to an elected format or not, I think it's important for there to be opportunities for consensus building and to consider the thoughts and ideas of everybody on that council. Because as I said earlier, we're not representing different wards. We are each council members at large representing the entire community. And when we select a mayor, that mayor should be representative of the thoughts and considerations of that entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz?
So I think I agree with most of what's been said. I mean, I would certainly support a referendum to ask the voters what they think about that change and electing a mayor rather than having the 5 people elected choose from among themselves. What I would want to see is that we retain our council manager style of government. I think that's really appropriate for the town our size. It's kind of like we have a working board that supports the town administration and you know, helps with our expertise to fill in the blanks and work alongside them. I think that works well for us, and that should continue.
Thank you. Next question. It is unclear what the priorities of our council members are. We are facing significant issues and challenges, and understanding what the town council has underway. List what you would start, stop, and continue if you are elected. Paul.
Start, stop, and continue. I mean, my priorities are, like I've said many times, is our town. I work on everything from our infrastructure, from continuing that with the wells, the sewer, stuff like that. I would stop as much development as I can so we don't have the problems on our new sewer plant, on our water lines, stuff like that. Basically, I would work on everything from large projects like that to small projects to freedom. Let's get rid of those 2 handicap parking spaces in the top and build stairs going down so people can safely get there. I want to work on everything for our town from big to small. I'm out in the community. I'm there all the time. I just want to fix Verona and make it as safe and as nice for everyone. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris.
I think that's a great question. It's a very difficult question to answer in 90 seconds. I think I've made my priorities very clear as a council member, and the first of which is to maintain our quality of life in this small town by keeping the character of this town. So I think that goes to the development question. One of the things that we have been doing well is seeking to minimize the impact of development by having our administration negotiate with developers to reduce the number of units in developments as well as the number of bedrooms in developments, which reduces the impact on our schools, our population, and all of our public services. So that's something I would absolutely continue, and it gives us a lot more control over that. So having things like redevelopment plans, like what we're doing with Hillcrest, is a really great thing to do much more of. What I would encourage residents to do is look at my very detailed platform and vision on my website at christamboro.com/issues, and you'll be able to see all of my priorities. But they center around keeping Verona the community that we want. We want a less developed community with a lot of open space that is safe, that provides recreation opportunities, that promotes public safety, and that ensures that our infrastructure is in proper form, and that we do all of this while keeping Verona affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia.
Thank you. I would love to have an opportunity to have a cup of coffee with the resident that submitted this question. So if you're out there, please come see me. My entire platform is about making promises into progress. When I ran in 2021, I ran as a utility and environmental attorney, recognizing that our critical infrastructure was not being addressed. And so I have focused the last 4 years on ensuring that we are doing just that. We are addressing our water quality issues by upgrading our Lynn Drive well and now moving forward with construction on our Fairview Avenue well. Those wells were shut down in 2021 because they were contaminated and not safe for drinking. Our wastewater treatment plant has been polluting the Peckman River. It needs critical improvements. Residents have endured backflow in their basements and on their properties We need to address these things. It's a quality of life issue, not even just an environmental concern. The Peckman River might seem low today because we're in a drought watch, but that's not always the case, and our residents have endured significant flooding. Those are issues that need to be addressed. I also ran on community resilience and improving the inclusivity of our town, and I'm pleased to show that we have made measurable progress, but there is more to do. Updating our critical infrastructure, being responsive to residents about their community needs, whether it be inclusive playgrounds or the update to Everett Field, are things that will continue to endure. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz?
Okay, so in terms of what I would start, I think I would start implementing many of the recommendations from our 2022 master plan, which was really well done plan with a lot of community impact. I think a lot of community input. Sorry about that. I think some of the recommendations in there are would help with a lot of the things we've been talking about here tonight. That includes things like adjusting setback requirements to promote walkability and push parking to the rear of properties, changing the requirement that mixed-use development has to have an equal distribution of uses in the town center, allowing a mix of uses in the C2 commercial zone, which is the professional office type of commercial buildings. One of the recommendations in the circulation element was to create a bike network map. That's actually something that the Neighborhood Traffic and Safety Committee Neighborhood Traffic and Safety Committee is working on right now. So I think there's a lot of great stuff in there that I would love to see move forward. In terms of continuing, I would continue and push harder to leverage some of the grant and technical assistance programs that are targeted towards local municipalities that are out there. I know our green team pursued a sustainable Jersey certification and did really well at that, and that positions us for other grants moving forward.
Thank you. Jack?
Thank you. To start, this might be continuing, but I would review some of our review our zoning ordinance and get that moving forward. It's been behind. The major effects of our zoning ordinance will be in the town center and the extended town center. I think that will help promote more businesses by changing some of them. Liz brought up the one that's been front and center for 5 years is changing the 50-50 split. That was put in because of one particular development in 2009, and they wanted to avoid that, what happened with that one. But outside of that, I would also start by implementing ordinances, environmental ordinances, like requiring new construction to be LEED certified. It's very simple to do. It's a simple ordinance to put in. Several other towns around us have done that. What I would stop is similar to exactly what Paul said, overdevelopment. We don't need overdevelopment. I had a conversation with someone in the Afterglow area today, and talking about my biggest regret is the approval of 200 units on that 5 acres of property up there. I just think they came in at the perfect time. We were scared about the affordable housing, and they got it in under that rule, that's a whole nother state laws on that. But what I would continue, infrastructure improvements, especially our wastewater treatment plant that we've been implementing already.
All right, thank you. And now our last question before we get to closing statements. The Verona pool is an important asset of Verona. State your position on whether the pool should be self-funded, and what is your plan to ensure it becomes financially viable? Liz?
Oh, didn't think it was my turn.
I think Chris goes.
I'm happy to go.
I think it goes to Chris.
I'm sorry. According to my scorecard, we're going to start with Liz.
Okay, well, let's start with me. But I hope this didn't count in my 90 seconds. First of all, I think I am the only one up here who actually grew up going to the pool and then continues to use it as an adult with my family. So I love the pool. I desperately want to see it remain sustainable. I think it's one of the crown jewels of Verona. I I heard, I was at the town council meeting last night, there was a lot of discussion about this. The town administration presented their recommendations for the upcoming season, and there was a lot of great discussion about it that made me feel good that we are on our way to getting the pool to a better place financially. I think for the most part, the costs are the costs. We can tweak them a little, but there's no way to dramatically reduce them. So we really need to focus on the revenue side. And one piece of that is to leverage the pool more as an event space and pursue sponsorship opportunities. But what really drives the revenue is memberships. I think I heard last night that it makes up 75% of the pool revenue. So we really need to focus on that, on increasing memberships. I know next year there's going to be a pilot of 100 out-of-town family memberships. And I agree with what I heard from some of the current council members that I'd like that to incorporate either a sponsorship model or some sort of priority registration that targets extended family of pool members and allows them first crack at those memberships.
Great,
We need
thank
to look
you.
at everything.
Cynthia.
Mixing it up. Thank
I'm
you.
mixing it up. Make sure everybody's awake.
I appreciate this question. So I have served, I believe I'm the longest serving rec committee liaison on the current council. I've been with that committee for 4 years, and we have been addressing concerns about the pool in that entire time. I have to say that I did the research, and when the pool was initially founded, it was founded with a small number of families, each contributing a small amount of money, and it was in fact intended to be run as a self-liquidating utility. That means it doesn't draw from your tax money, it is self-sustaining. So the direct response to the question asked is, should it be that way? And that was how it was always intended to be when it was founded. So I think the answer to that is yes. But I think the broader question is, how do we make sure that the pool remains this vibrant center of our community? I have said repeatedly that summer memories are made at the Verona pool. It is the heart of the community in the summer. If you have children, you are at the Verona pool one way or another, whether you're a member or not. So it is absolutely imperative for the council to address these concerns about its ability to endure. But I want to really reassure residents that it will still be there. And so we are not going to be developing affordable housing on the pool or anything to that effect. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack.
Yes, we had an extensive conversation last night about the pool and at other meetings also. We need to cut the revenue gap. My biggest concern when we talk about memberships, and it came up last night, is that we increased revenue last year, but we decreased membership. There are if you look across permits for pools on houses, there was an increase in single-family residents adding pools in their backyard, which means they're not going to join the Verona pool. So we have to make sure that what we do doesn't hurt the Verona pool. The pilot program of 100 out-of-town residents, I do agree with that. The sponsorship, banners, I think every business wants to advertise, and we get criticized, oh, you're going to go after the businesses. But every business wants to advertise their business, and I think that's a very good place to advertise. We did a program in Verona where you paid to sponsor the parking signs in Verona. And that worked out, sold, the town didn't pay anything for them. I want to thank the rec committee and all the work they put into it. A lot of their recommendations, our recommendations, came from them, and they did a wonderful job on it. There were other things, special events we can do, but the main thing is, and the one thing I really liked was that we have a payment program starting in February, where they can pay February, March, April, and May and split their membership. I think that will boost membership because people don't want to afford it all at once.
Okay. Thank you. Chris.
Thank you for this question. I have a lot of detailed responses to this, and I encourage you to look at my website or social media for full detail on this. The pool should be a self-liquidating utility, and it will continue to be that. The pool will not be closing. We did have a revenue gap that has been filled with surplus and COVID relief money over the years. So what do we do now? We've seen an increase in expenses like minimum wage, and the rate increases on the pool never kept pace with that, and we found ourselves in this position. So some of the ideas have already been discussed to allow a limited number of out-of-town members, about 100. After talking to residents, the deputy mayor and I pushed out a list of our proposed recommendations in order to gain resident feedback and start real conversations. And after talking to residents, we actually got commitment from residents to form a marketing committee to go out and meet with new residents in town, have a table at various township events, and really market the pool. In addition to the out-of-town memberships and sponsoring, something I'd like to do is add a junior lifeguard program as well in order to eliminate that gap where a lot of middle school age families leave because they're not as engaged in there as well, and really continue to look at our operating costs and set targets for our revenue so we know we're in the right track. And if we are bringing in more revenue than we expected from enhanced marketing and from sponsorships, we could actually reduce the impact of those out-of-town memberships. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
I agree with Chris on reducing those number of out-of-town memberships. I suggested last night as at the meeting, it's $1,000 for our pilot program, it's $1,000 a family for an out-of-town resident. Basically, I would move that to $1,500 family for an out-of-town resident, so then we can cut it to 50 out-of-towners. You get the same amount of money. The rec department, the subcommittees, they have been working. I have been to those meetings 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and this has always been a topic. The issue is nothing's ever been done. We talk about it. We have ideas. These ideas have been kicked around for 4 years. We need to put the ideas in motion. The advertising committee that we're now talking about, we've been talking about advertising at those meetings 3 years ago. We need action. We can't just talk about ideas. I talked about years ago about raffling off the front 2 parking spots. Every 2 weeks you could have new parking and you'd make tons of money there. There's plenty of money to be made. The pool should be self-sustaining. Our DPW should not have to take care of it, and the taxpayer should not have to take that burden on. Right now we're down to 745 families signed up, less people, more money. When is it not going to be a Verona community pool? We need to keep it a Verona community pool, and it needs to stay self-sustaining, and we can do it. We just need to make smarter decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, candidates, time for closing statements, and we'll go now in reverse order from the opening. Chris?
Thank you. Thank you again to the Verona Junior Women's Club for hosting tonight's forum and the League of Women Voters for moderating. I appreciate all of the candidates engaging in civil discourse tonight as our community makes significant decisions about the future. One of the things that heartened me about the questions this evening was a lot of the questions that the community was asking were items that I addressed in my platform, my vision, my issues. And that is good to see, so I encourage the community to take a look at those. It's also clear what the community is looking for as solutions, and that is something I offer with a diverse professional background, a diverse background within government, and to be able to help facilitate those things moving forward. One of the things we didn't address in the debate is affordability. That's something I've been committed to and want the public to know that one of those items has been including changing our whole capital management project system so that instead of approving little projects all at different times, we try to do them together so we can set priorities, including cutting $750,000 of spending this last year. So I thank our residents for your thoughtful questions participation. I look forward to our continued partnership. Since we could not address all of our community needs or the issues facing Verona, I encourage you during the forum to visit my website at christamboro.com to learn about accomplishments over the last term and read my detailed vision for the town's future that is accompanied by specific plans for improvement. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or thoughts about these plans. I look forward to working together to develop the best policy for the future. Please vote Chris Tamboro, line 4F, on or before November 4th.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, Paul.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I'd like to thank the Women's Club, Junior Women's Club for hosting. Basically, I'm just a regular resident like you guys. I did not expect to be up here a year ago, 6 months ago, or anything. But you know what? I saw our town going in a direction that I did not like, and I wanted to save it. And I put my name in the hat. I am here to save us financially and make Verona more affordable in any way I can and think outside the box. I moved here 10 years ago, and what really attracted me to this town and what I love about this town is everybody is a third, fourth, fifth generation, as Liz said. That's what I want it to keep going as. And I want our kids to be able to afford it and not have to buy the house from us, because I'd like to take that money. I would like Verona to stay as it was 10 years ago. I'd like to update it, yes. I've been talking with residents about how we get 5G into our streetscape. I've been talking with residents about our sporting events. I've been talking with residents for the past 2-3 years about everything. Please vote for me, and I'm just here to help you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack?
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight, and everybody for their questions. And Paul, I said the same thing 8.5 years ago when I ran. Over those years, we have created and finalized 2 affordable housing plans. The latest submitted this past June that takes us to 2035. Navigated the township through COVID, upgraded infrastructure throughout town, replaced numerous roadways, installed a PFAS filtration system on 1 well and have 2 in the works. Done various building repairs and renovations, added pickleball courts to the pool upgrades, finalized the design, and are moving forward with Everett Field renovation, a Claridge pump station, and much more around town. We have been working on solving problems. Over the next 4 years, the Town Council will continue to make several major capital spending decisions. A decision on the new facilities of our police department, fire department, and rescue squad, Centennial Field resurfacing, wastewater treatment plant upgrades, roof replacements on several buildings, downtown streetscape beautification, to name a few. The public safety building project alone could be the largest project the Verona Town Council has ever approved. The council, along with the administration and public, has been working together, collecting, listening to feedback from residents to move this project forward for a safer Verona now and for future generations. My background in site plan review and construction has been very valuable in analyzing, revising, and budgeting for prior projects, and will help in the same way for future projects. Please consider voting for me, Jack McAvoy, 2F, on November 4th.
Thank you. Liz?
Thank you once again to the Junior Women's Club of Verona and the League of Women Voters for hosting us this evening, and to everyone out there who submitted all of those wonderful questions. I think that what you heard tonight is that the things that Verona residents care about right now, really the things that my fellow candidates care about right now, are the very issues that happen to be right in my professional wheelhouse. So I would be so honored, not to mention nerdily excited, to contribute both my passion for Verona and my professional expertise to the Town Council if I'm elected. You can learn more about my campaign at Hines for Verona, 4, verona.com, and find me on your ballot in position 3F. Thanks again.
Thank you. Cynthia?
I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to the Verona Junior Women's Club, as well as the League of Women Voters, for moderating tonight's event. I want to thank everybody who's been here, even with our road paving happening outside. I can't think of anything that represents integrity and honesty and accountability more than running on your record, and that is precisely what I am offering Verona. I made promises, and I can show measurable progress in the 4 years I've been here. And what we can see from the questions that were raised by the community tonight is that there's a tremendous amount of unfinished business that needs to be addressed. I think that can be addressed by taking a planful and strategic approach, just as I did for our critical infrastructure. I think it's incredibly important on leveraging the expertise of our community, and that's why I stepped forward 4 years ago to run, because I brought a unique set of skills to the Township Council that nobody else offered. I'm also running because I have a family in this town, and I want to continue to make progress for my daughters and for your daughters. I think it's incredibly important for our girls, for our families, to see women in leadership positions doing the community service and doing it well, because we bring that level of expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, now we can applaud. Well done. Great forum. Thank you so much, candidates. And now for the audience and for those who are viewing, of course, I have to remind everyone that now we're asking you to vote. Now the rubber hits the road. They want you to vote. You can still register to vote by October 14th. It's not too late. Just as a reminder, there are 3 ways to vote in New Jersey. Mail-in ballots have already gone out. There'll be early voting starting October 25th here in the Verona Community Center, and of course in person on Election Day on November 4th. We don't care how you vote, just that you do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, we haven't yet. I'd like to get there.